everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Best You, a Coaching podcast. It's Gary here again, and thank you very, very much for joining me for this episode. I hope that you're doing great and investing in whatever work it is that you've committed to getting yourself closer to being the best version of you. Under my new communications commitment to providing you with more regular pods per month, that is. This is actually the first time that you will have gotten to hear my voice twice in the space of a month, and for that I'm either very sorry if my voice just absolutely grates on you or you're very welcome if you think that my voice is just an auditory velvety gold dust bundle of joy. Either way, we are where we are, and I can't wait to take you through the content for this particular episode. So what you can expect in this episode is we're going to work through a book review of a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by
Mandino, and that's from 1968. But before we get to that point, I will talk you through also the recent blog number 10, that centred on mistakes and whether there is actually even such a thing as a mistake. But before all that, I will discuss my own personal journey of the last wee while and see how things are shaping up. So like before, I have been continuing with my core passion, my core business as well, which is my one-on-one coaching. I've been putting out also a number of proposals and doing a bit more networking than I would typically do to ensure that what I'm offering is of course what people need, and making any course corrections as required. And do you know what, to be dead honest, I thought that I would dislike this part of being an entrepreneur, or an ultrapreneur as my sister calls it, and a small business owner. But I learn something that's a value add to me and to the business every single day. And that's just given me so much more enthusiasm, excitement and energy towards this as well. And I think it's certainly a thing that I've rekindled a passion for. I've been a lifelong learner for decades now, basically since I left school back in the very early 90s or so. And I recall being very, very excited when I got to post-secondary education of just the notion of learning, because high school learning wasn't really part of my plan at the time, and I had this absolute thirst for knowledge and complete enthusiasm for the art of learning as well. And I was just sharing with a couple of colleagues last week there that I've got that drive back again. I've got that bit between my teeth, and I'm now back to where I was, decades ago, in terms of just every single opportunity to learn. I'm taking it, I'm observing things differently, I'm sharing information on a more regular and passionate basis as well, and I am just into it, folks. I really am, and I hope that you are too as we go forward, because I do have lots of information to share as well. But it's a great space to be in, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I say all that, and then I'm going to give you a wee bit of information in terms of my weekly journaling. I've kind of fallen by the wayside of that. Christmas, the Christmas break there seems to have kind of put a bit of a stick in the spoke of the wheel, so to speak. And I've only done one in the last wee while, and I know exactly why that is, because I have it scheduled in for a Friday morning at 11 o'clock every single week in my calendar. And that seems to be a bit of a prime time spot for either myself or other people to book time with me for either coaching or some other self-development or progress type stuff. And then what I'm not doing is I'm not moving it and saying, right, well, okay, if that's going to take over that, then I have to push that up to 10 o'clock. I have to push that to 9:30, to 8, or whatever that looks like. And that's just a pure mechanical scheduling thing on my behalf. And obviously there's a wee bit of value that I guess I don't see that I'm getting from the weekly journaling just yet. So that's got me to a spot where I have to kind of rethink that I have, because I have an app. I've subscribed to an app called Growth Day, that's headlined by a guy called Brendan Burchard. You may or may not have heard of him. and that has a journal part of it. So today, literally as I'm recording this, I did my first daily journal where it was just intention setting in the morning and giving myself an opportunity to kind of seize the day a wee bit. There are incremental parts of the journaling that I can do if I want, I don't have to, during the day, and then do a bit of a nighttime review as well. So I'm going to give that a go and see if that's a habit worth forming and if that's going to serve me going forward. But it was great just to start the day with some practical questions and some practical intentions as well. So maybe the weekly stuff will take a back seat and the daily stuff will take over. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes as we progress. I'm also pleased to tell you that I've finished the Project Management Institute's authorised training partner program, and I wrote and passed the exam last night, and I was very happy to do that. I'd kind of parked that a wee bit over the festive period as well, so that entailed a lot of material reading, 12 individual classes and a final assessment, and I'm glad to say that I got 96% on my final assessment as well. So I am now formally an authorised training partner with the Project Management Institute through Mount Royal University, and I'm very happy to be that. I have continued to post the 30-day challenge videos on LinkedIn, and I have been getting some nice traction on that, to be honest, and I've amassed another few subscribers to my mailing list on garygillen.com as well, which is great. And like myself, my mailing list is very small and compact, but it's a great start, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And it's such a pleasure and an honour to have people trust you that you're going to do what you said you're going to do. You're going to provide some value to their lives as well. And I have to say, back to LinkedIn, I'm really enjoying the exposure on LinkedIn and thoroughly, getting to kind of see the mechanics and the benefits of social media presence a wee bit more as well. LinkedIn being my main and preferred social media platform of choice as well. I did attend the Launchpad Accelerator from the Mastermind community, Getting the Yes workshop a couple of weekends ago, and I got some real genuine value add tools and strategies on converting my business offerings into meaningful additions to my potential customer base as well. So things like that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, they're just getting me completely jazzed about learning. And I want that for everyone that I interact with as well. So I hope that will come across in some of the tweaks and modifications that I'll be making to those things over the next wee while as well. And yeah, so as I mentioned, I've subscribed to the Growth Day. I am also part of the Mastermind community as well. So that gives me some key access to some very high quality self-education content, and I'm taking as much advantage of that as I can. I've actually started to get up early in the morning. I was struggling to kind of find time during the day to do the self-development work, so sacrificed a wee bit of sleep just to get up and do some stuff before anybody wakes up in the house, and that's been working so far as well. Continuing teaching through Mount Royal as well. And it also got created a mastermind community with some solid friends that I have, some guys that I admire, to basically come together in a common, secure and supportive shared learning environment to share ideas. These guys are business owners as well. We got together for the first time last week. We shared some ideas. We shared a little bit of history about ourselves, actually, just to kind of set the foundation and lay the groundwork for what's going to be a fabulous ad, certainly for my own development and growth and accountability going forward as well. So we'll meet. The plan is to meet right now every quarter. And so we'll do that again come April time, but we all have a wee bit of homework going away, and I've shared some kind of cool ideas just over our text group since then as well. So thoroughly enjoyed that, and so excited to get that up and going as well. The book's on the go is still Coaching for Performance by Sir John Whitmore, and I am still reading Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights. I'm almost through that one actually, which has been a fabulous read as well. Things are a wee bit slower on the Coaching for Performance book, I have to admit, as well. So on to the actual content for this week. Then we're going to just do a quick summary of the blog number 10, which is the Mistakes, Is There Such a Thing, was the title. And I talk about this a wee bit in the blog, or maybe it was in the email accompanying the blog. I can't quite remember now. But when I first heard this kind of mantra, this saying, or affirmation was through my IPEC training back in 2001. And I kind of had a laugh about it. To be honest, I was like, what do you mean there's no such thing as a mistake? Of course there is. I make mistakes every day. I deal with people who make mistakes every day. I see organizations make mistakes every day. And then when they kind of started to get into the science and the mechanic and the inspiration behind there's no such thing as a mistake, that's when I started to expand my learning, to really get expansive in my thinking as well. And here's the irony. In my accompanying email that I sent out to my distribution list last week to announce that the blog was there, I made a mistake in like the second or third sentence, where I think I'd said something along the lines of, have you ever made a mistake? No, me neither, but I'll bet you know someone who has. That's what it was supposed to say, but I didn't finish the word bet with a T. I just had B. And then so I had a good friend of mine, Brian, sent over a note saying, talking about mistakes, and then I had a look and I'm like, oh my word, and I know exactly why it happened. And that's, so I didn't intend to make a mistake, of course, in that respect. And I don't like it when I do that. I have to be very honest. Like, quality in my presentation and my materials is something that's very near and dear to me. So when I make a mistake like that, I kind of give myself a little bit of a kick up the backside. And I know exactly what happened. I was so desperate to get it out relatively early on Friday, and I did it in between two sessions, and I had 10 or 15 minutes. And of course, as any small business owner will know, you do a lot of things yourself. So I write the blog, I upload it to the website, I do the accompanying imagery, I do the email through MailChimp, and I get it all ready and locked and loaded, ready to go. And then when I think everything's okay, I get it out there. So I was kind of multitasking essentially, or trying to squeeze it in between a couple of appointments, and that's what happens. So not a mistake per se, but a little bit of a deviation from what I was intending. And that's what's going to happen when you decide to make decisions about how you're going to deliver things over time. But I thought it was kind of ironic. I had a bit of a chuckle at that. So I'd like to pose a question to you. Like, what is your philosophy when it comes to mistakes? Like, how do you view them? How do you react to them? How do you analyze the information or data that comes from them? And how do you use the outputs or the aftermath for good, or not? But let's just go on the positive thing, the positive track here for now. Like, how do you react to people in organizations that, in your opinion, are mistakes factories, if you like, or if there was such a thing as a world championship of mistakes, that they'd be the undisputed heavyweight champion? How do you view them? How do you treat yourself if the error was yours? This is really, really important. So literally pause for a second, and even pause this pod if you like, if you feel that'll help you with a reflective moment, and think about how you react to mistakes. Is it with curiosity? Is it with empathy? Or some level of generosity? Or is it more with irritation, impatience, indignation, heavy judgment, and potential thoughts of punishment? Everyone's different, folks. And I feel that there are positive and progressive reactions, and reactions that are negative, restrictive, and downright destructive as well. So where do you sit today, right now as I'm talking to you, in terms of your opinion and reactions to mistakes? So I then went on to talk about what is a mistake, and I created a little bit of a hybrid descriptor by combining some descriptions of the word mistake and the word error from dictionary.com into an explanation that a mistake is a deviation caused by an action. A deviation caused by an action. So then, if there even is there even such a thing as a mistake? I then went on to ask how you felt about me stating the fact that there was no such thing as a mistake. Like, there is literally no such thing as a mistake, was essentially the argument that I was making in the blog. And then I just discussed the mechanics and outcome that we commonly call a mistake by stating that a mistake is a deviation from what you expected, caused by an action, something someone or something did. So a deviation from what you expected, caused by an action, something that someone did. Then I go on with the big statement on the blog that a mistake is a label that we put on something after we know what happened. A mistake is just merely a label that we put on something after we know what happened. So let that sink in for a wee bit. Just after we know what happened, we then decide based on all the information that we have, with the rationale that we have, that it's a mistake, that's something that happened. That's exactly what it was. But then I'd ask you, when do you know that a mistake happened? Like literally, when do you know a mistake happened? Do you know before the mistake happened that it was a mistake? Do you know during the mistake that it was a mistake? Or do you know after it happened? You only know about a mistake after it happened. And in the blog I talk about, if you've got a negative gut feel, a gut reaction, an opinion to something, situation that gives you a cause to say after the fact, I told you so, and other such apprehensive feelings or emotions that you might use to be what I call smart after the fact. But that's really all it is. It's just being smart after you know what happened. And none of these are indicators that an actual genuine deviation caused by an action is taking place. It's just some stuff you get to say once you're more educated. And if I sound like I'm trying to, argue the point here, I kind of am, because I do feel fairly strongly about this. So then, to redefine your thinking, if it isn't a mistake, then what is it? So if it isn't a mistake, then we can start to kind of delve in to intention. So intentionality takes an action that causes a deviation from what was originally envisioned. If that's actually happening, that's sabotage. If you're intentionally taking that action that causes the deviation, it's sabotage or some other form of malicious behaviour, but I would argue that it's not a mistake. If it's unintentionally taking an action that causes a deviation, then we're dealing with competence, we're dealing with capacity, or some other thing that training, experience, qualifications, physical or mental capacity, confidence, environmental conditions. Once you know what happened, then you can take steps to course correct based on the information that you've been presented with. And I would encourage you to think a wee bit more expansively on the steps that led to the deviation. Focus less on looking for someone to blame and expend your energy on working towards resolution and process that's going to create improvement for the future. And then went on to talk about why it's important, and it's essentially just reframing how you respond to your mistakes and identifying how you respond to your mistakes and the mistakes of others. What do you say? With your inside and outside voices, some people are very vocal and some people internalize it. How do you act and react, and how does it affect your relationships, personal and professional? And I offered up that the chance are that you've experienced a circumstance when you haven't exactly been at your best. You haven't been at your most tolerant. You haven't been at your most kind or courteous when it comes to reacting to mistakes, regardless of who made them. And this is where the art of reframing can help you, through your thought process and your thought processing capacity, to provide more expansive thinking, and thus an opportunity to react how you choose to react, rather than an emotional or somewhat uncontrolled reaction, especially when it gets destructive as well. Mistakes are often seen as failures. There's a perception part to this, of course. They're often seen as failures or negative, or being known, of someone being known who makes mistakes, or is a habitual mistake maker. And then, and it can arise fears around being caught or found out for the mistake, or how that might impact your reputation personally or professionally, what future connotations or impacts that this might have on you as you move forward, and the potential losses that could be experienced. You lose a relationship, you lose a job, you lose an opportunity that was near and dear to you. Conversely, if you perceive a mistake in a less negative context, you can help build from that. You can build resilience, you can build self-compassion, self-care to help you move forward as well. And I then went on to talk about a mistake-friendly culture. So depending on your organisation, on your family, on your network, on your culture, on your community, or wherever you spend your time, that's going to help shape what cultural reactions you experience based on any mistakes that are perceived. So for example, if you're in software research and development, tolerance will be very different to that of people in, say, for example, open heart surgery or some other medical field. But the impacts of mistakes are not uniform, and they have to be taken in context. They're very much contextual. But a mistake-friendly culture can help provide other benefits such as psychological safety, learning from the outputs or the outcomes, having open communication at all times within all levels of the community, and then regular reflection, using that data and information to provide meaningful lessons learned and opportunities to get better as you go forward. And using data, using all of the data available is going to help you. And then towards the end of the blog, we then started to talk about opportunity knocking as relates to mistakes. I think they're undisputably, absolutely opportunities for professional and personal growth and learning. Absolutely. Mistakes are going to help lead us to new insights and new discoveries. They're going to spark new ideas and or a different approach on how to do something in the future. They're going to help shift your perspective from something a little bit more negative and restrictive to something more positive and progressive. And they're going to allow us to expand our individual introspection and self-reflection as well. And as I've been doing for the last couple of blogs, I then ended up with the blog with a GAZ challenge, and the GAZ challenge is to reflect on your own experience with mistakes. I challenge you to do that at the beginning as well, of course, of this podcast. How did you use the mistake to help fuel your growth? If you didn't use the mistake to help fuel your growth, that's okay, but the question now is, how are you going to use information from mistakes going forward? If you need any help figuring that out, I would love to hear from you and love to walk and talk through things like that with you as well. So yeah, that was my overview on mistakes. A very entertaining topic, I think, and something that everyone will have an opinion on, something that everyone will have an ability to be able to do some level of self-reflection, whether it's, you know, in observing and dare I say, judging others and or yourself as well. So I'll leave that with you, and as I say, I'd love to hear from you if you have any further comments on that as well. On to the book report that I talked about earlier, The Greatest Salesman in the World. The last time on the last pod, I went through all 4 parts of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and there was a lot of information to cover, and I thought this one I was going to get a bit of a lucky break because it was such a short book. It was probably a couple of hours in total to read, but there's so much rich information in there. There's equally just as much information to share, so I will summarise it to keep the time short and respect your time, of course. But it's a great book, and it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World, but it's essentially about life lessons. It's about how you want to conduct your life, how you want to progress through life, and how you're going to approach things, and with a particular type and style of mindset. Where I heard about this book, it's through the Mastermind community, and Dean Graziosi is one of the main people working with Tony Robbins on the Mastermind community. He mentioned it a few times, and it's just a book that offers valuable lessons for success in sales. Yes, that's the preface, but in life as well. And it follows the journey of a back in, remember this is 1968, so of a young camel boy named Hafid, who becomes the greatest salesman in the world under his wise, under the guidance of his wise mentor as well. It's divided, so the story, it goes through essentially 10 sections, and the 10 sections are presented as you now have access to these 10 scrolls, and each scroll contains a principle or lesson that Hafid learns and applies to his life. And one of the main things at the beginning is that he says failure, or he starts to believe that failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. So there's a few nuggets like that as we go through. In order to get access to the scrolls which are contained in this chest, his mentor says you need to commit to doing these 3 things. And the 3 conditions were: 1, follow all the instructions in all 10 scrolls. Number 2 was give away half of everything that he earns in his life from this point forward. And number 3, never share what is in the scrolls until someone presents himself and is worthy of receiving them at some point yet to be determined in the future. So that's the preface of that. So scroll number 1 is, each basically has a statement: I will form good habits and become their slave. I will form good habits and become their slave. And this is where he learns the importance of forming good habits and embracing them as the keys to success. And a couple of quotes from this particular chapter. Failure is a man's inability to reach his goals in life. The difference between success and failure is the difference of their habits. Good habits are key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. I love that. Good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. Scroll number 2 is, I will greet this day with love in my heart. And this is where he discovers that love is the greatest secret to success in sales and life. And he learns that to approach every single interaction with love and kindness. And he goes on to say, for just as love is my weapon to open the hearts of men, love is also my shield to repulse the arrows of hate and the spears of anger. And most of all, I will love myself. That's where it starts, folks. That's really where it starts. Number 3, I will persist until I succeed. And then this is where he's realising that persistence is a crucial aspect in life, and to persist in the face of challenges and setbacks, never giving up on the goals. And he goes on to say, if I persist, if I continue to try, if I continue to charge forward, I will succeed. The prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning. I'm going to repeat that. The prizes of life are at the end of each journey, not near the beginning. Isn't it so that we try something, we don't get immediate benefits or rewards, and then we just throw it away? You're going to get the benefits and rewards towards the end of whatever it is you're trying, whether it's a fitness goal, whether it's a mental health goal, whether whatever it is actually, and I just love the way that he said that there as well, as he will persist until he succeeds. Number 4, I am nature's greatest miracle. I am nature's greatest miracle. And this is essentially about powering the master, or empowering himself to be the master of his own emotions. And that comes with a need to have control over his reactions and maintaining a positive mindset at all times. And I love the sentiment here. Since the beginning of time, there has never been another with my mind, my heart, my ears, my hands, my hair, my mouth. None that came before me, none that live today, and none that come tomorrow can walk and talk and move and think exactly like me. Henceforth, I will capitalise on this difference, for it is an asset to be promoted to the fullest. I will place my uniqueness on display. Isn't that great? There is no one like you. You are the best person at being you. That's one of the inspirations for calling this podcast The Best You, because you're the only one that can do it as well. And Mandino, reinforces that as well. Number 5, I will live this day as if it was my last. And then this is really about living in the present moment and how essential that is, and to focus on the task at hand and give it his absolute full attention there. How often do we multitask? How often do we start something and then get distracted and move on to something else without even realising that we've done so? So he does this in the context of life. I will live this as if it is my last, and then figure out and see, where it's going to be. Forgetting yesterday, neither will I think of tomorrow. Why should I throw now after maybe? Should I concern myself over events which I may never witness? Should I torment myself with problems that may never come to pass? Just philosophical, that's not even a word, philosophical life lessons there. I love that. Number 6, today I will be the master of my emotions. And it's a kind of bit of an extension to number 5, of course, and that he's importance of cultivating enthusiasm and embracing it in absolutely every aspect of his life. And he goes on to say, trees and plants depend on the weather to flourish, but I make my own weather. Weak is he who permits his thoughts to control his actions. Strong is he who forces his actions to control his thoughts as well. Number 7, I will laugh at the world. And this is where he learns the value, again, of taking action, and he realises that action is the bridge between his dreams and their realisation, applying reality to it as well, and the reality being humour. There, no other creature can laugh except man. And most of all, I will laugh at myself, for man is most comical when he takes himself too seriously. Isn't that the truth? Man is most comical when he takes himself too seriously. I just absolutely love that. Number 8 is, today I will multiply my value 100-fold. And this is where he discovers the power of persistence and determination, and where he learns to persevere through any challenges and setbacks as well. And he says, I need not wait, for I have the power to choose my own destiny. And how will I accomplish this? First, I will set goals for the day, the week, the month, the year, and my life. In setting my goals, I will consider my best performance of the past and multiply it 100-fold. To surpass the deeds of others is unimportant. To surpass my own deeds is all. I will always raise my goals as soon as they are attained. I will always strive to make the next hour better than this one. Love it. Absolutely love it. Number 9, I will act now. And, embracing failure and using that as a stepping stone to success is a key part of this particular chapter. And, how to learn from your mistakes and grow stronger, which is, of course, the main theme for today's pod as well. My dreams are worthless. My plans are distant. My goals are impossible. All are of no value unless they are followed by an action. All are of no value unless they are followed by an action. Action alone is the tinder which ignites my dreams, my plans, my goals into a living force. I say that to clients all the time. I say that to almost anyone. A goal is a great thing, but if it's not followed immediately by an action of any description, it's just something nice that you made up, that you wrote down, that you have in your head, and there's nothing material that's going to come from that as well. And then number 10 is, henceforth I will pray, but my cries for help will be only cries for guidance. And, he has to live each day as if it were his last, but he appreciates that life, you have to make the best of every single moment. And he's only asking for guidance from each of the interactions, each of the experiences that he has. He's not asking for anyone to do anything for him. He's not asking for any favours or anything that's not within his right. He's just asking for guidance as well. So yeah, that's it. That's the 10 parts of that. And overall, the greatest salesman in the world. I think it teaches valuable lessons in the power of positive habits, of love, persistence, mastering emotions, hanging in there, living in the present, enthusiasm, taking action, persevering, learning from failure, and just basically embracing life, and I think it's a book that it certainly inspired me. I wasn't disappointed at all, and I think it's one of these books that I would regularly go back to as well, because the lessons are just so succinct, and it's in a story as well, and when storytelling is at play, it's a lot easier to follow, especially if you have a degree of investment in the characters as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I would encourage you to go get the book if you feel like it, and read a wee bit more about it. But yeah, that's something that was very impactful for me, and something that I was really keen to share. Okay, folks, so I hope this episode of the Best You, a coaching podcast, was indeed a valuable use of your time, and that you'll join me for more as we move forward together. If you did find it valuable, I would so appreciate if you would share that with others as we continue to build our community of like-minded folks across the globe, and as we help each other become the best versions of ourselves. Please don't forget to take a peek at garygillen.com for all of the past episodes and all of the past blogs and other bits and pieces of information that are there. And until next time, please do take care of yourself in your ongoing journey, and I will talk to you soon, folks. Okay, take care now. Bye-bye.